I know it's hard to believe, but it's been over 5 years now since Nintendo fans everywhere were pleasantly surprised by Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. The fusion of the Mario universe and the insanity of Ubisoft's Raving Rabbids was a combination that somehow impossibly worked. But with the groundwork established and the shock factor gone from the first game, can the sequel stack up to its predecessor, or maybe be even better? Hi, I'm Seth from Carpool Gaming, and this is Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope in review. So typically when I come into a sequel for a video game, I'm looking for or expecting or am at least generally comfortable with it being essentially more of what I loved from the first game, and I did really enjoy the first Mario plus Rabbids game, but I am happy to report that Sparks of Hope is not just simply more Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, it improves upon that first game in just about every conceivable way. If you liked the first Mario plus Rabbids, you're gonna love this. The story picks up sometime after Kingdom Battle and sees the Mario Rabbids gang hanging out and enjoying life in the Mushroom Kingdom, but it isn't long before they meet these Sparks, a fusion of Rabbids and Lumas from the Super Mario Galaxy games who are fleeing a massive, dark entity named Cursa. Cursa's been hunting these Sparks across the galaxy and has spread its dark mess absolutely everywhere, leaving entire planets in disarray and corrupting legions of enemies to its will. So it's up to our heroes to restore these planets, help its denizens, storm Cursa's deep galactic stronghold, and stop it once and for all. It is admittedly a really straightforward story setup, and, if you come into this game kind of looking for a winding narrative with twists and turns and character arcs and development and stuff like that, you're not really going to find it here. There are, admittedly, there's some great moments in here for sure. The story is totally effective and enjoyable. And there's, a good carrot on a stick to push you through, and there's some really good stuff in here, but it's not, it isn't Mass Effect or something like that, so really don't come in here looking for that. I think most players will probably get through this game in about 15-ish hours, but there's a ton of stuff to do on the side that can easily double that time. I've done basically everything there is to do in the game, and I took just under 30 hours to do that. There's a ton of side content to get into here. And that kind of plays into what is maybe the most immediate change over the first game. The structure of Kingdom Battle was fairly straightforward. You were essentially just going from battle to battle with some light side content kind of between them, but Sparks of Hope drops you into these open planets that each have multiple side activities, optional battles, collectibles, unlocks, wandering enemies, super bosses, and even some light exploration and puzzle solving completely off the beaten path. And for me, this all makes the game feel so much more fully fleshed out, like the true realization of creative director Davide Soliani's vision for this franchise. I feel like it really does carry the flow and polish of a first-party Nintendo title. And it's also one of the best looking games on the Nintendo Switch, from the visual fidelity itself to the animation work, the vibrant colors, and the amazingly varied settings. You've got your beaches, you've got your snowy areas, you've got, areas that I don't even want to spoil for you here because they're so beautiful and you should just see them for yourself. But this game is gorgeous to look at. I noticed the very occasional frame stutter or pop-in here and there, but these are very much the exception rather than the rule. The performance is just rock solid the entire way through. It only slightly buckles when there's kind of a lot going on. But that's okay. That's not a deal breaker for me at all. It's very, very rare and occasional. You might not even notice it at all. But I think it really just goes to serve how much more alive the entire game feels. I love that about this game. Each area is dripping with personality. It's really accentuated by the Rabbids that, for me in this game, are funnier and more charming than ever before. You'll encounter some memorable Rabbid NPCs, like Professor Backpack. There will be no unkind words about Professor Backpack, I will not allow it. As well as just Rabbids getting into mischief over on the sidelines. Another kind of interesting change is in this game, your Rabbid party members all talk. No longer the gibberish minion-like pantomime we were sort of used to. You'll now hear little quips and one-liners from your friends on the battlefield. I mean, hearing Rabid Peach say #healing journey after popping off a massive team heal just makes you love her all the more for it, and Rabid Mario's got this gruff Brooklyn accent that you'll just have to hear for yourself when you play the game. There's really just a newfound focus on your individual party members in general in Sparks of Hope. Each one feels completely different, has their own strengths and weaknesses, and provides interesting sort of strategic use cases for your 3-person party, which, by the way, no longer even has to include Mario at all. If you were annoyed that you had to have Mario in your party in the first game, that's not the case with this game. And I know that some people are upset that characters like Yoshi and Rabid Yoshi didn't return from Kingdom Battle, but hey, at least now you've got Bowser joining the team, Rabid Rosalina, and a brand new character named Edge, and they're all great. And all of these party members have got unique special abilities like Luigi's Steely Gaze that will snipe any enemy unlucky enough to enter his field of vision as if he was Green Arrow and they have failed this city. Rabid Rosalina has the Ennui ability where she opens her storybook and locks enemies in place for several turns, which has saved my skin many, many times, trust me. And rather than have a swath of, weapon options and different things to choose from, each character has got a specific weapon associated with them that all behave differently that, for me at least, gives it a much more sort of personal feel and gives each character a sort of specialty that you can build your strategies around. Mario dual wields some handguns, Peach's parasol becomes this crazy spread shot shotgun thing, Edge basically has got Cloud Stripe's Buster Sword, Rabid Peach has got this missile launcher that totally ignores half cover. It really allows you to build your party the way you want with the characters you vibe the most with, and you can even swap them out for whoever you think would work best in the given battle before it starts. And battles feel so much more free-form, improvisational, and satisfying in this game. I think my favorite new additions are the expanded movement options that you have in combat now. At the start of your turn, you can see your character's entire field of possible movement, but you can move freely within that field until you actually make an attack. Using things like attacks or your companion Sparks abilities or items will expend one of your 2 action points you get each turn, but every character also has several free movement actions that they can take on their turns. So you can dash through enemies, actually up to 3 enemies on a single dash if they're all lined up neatly and pretty for you. You can jump off your teammates, which will then send you into a short glide with Beepo that'll allow you to reposition yourself on the map, and there are sometimes even environmental elements like jump pads or rabid warp pipes like we saw in the first game that you can use to reposition as well. And these can all be used to set up interesting strategies and synergies with your party, and they can all be used in tandem with each other, sometimes even on single turns. You can do some truly crazy stuff in this game with the right planning and positioning. I mean, maybe you set up Luigi's Steely Gaze and dash into an enemy, which sends it into the air and, right into Luigi's line of sight so that he can quickly finish them off with his bow from afar. Or maybe you use one of your Sparks abilities to give your attack fire elemental damage, which can set your opponent on fire, make them run out of cover, and even set other enemies on fire while they're at it. There are just a ton of options here. And speaking of the Sparks, each character can bring 2 Sparks with them into battle, and each of those have got active and passive effects that can play with one another. Sparks can give simple buffs or debuffs, but there are also some really interesting Spark abilities in the game that I'm not going to spoil here. There are so many possibilities here without ever feeling overwhelming, and it makes for what is truly some of the most fun and satisfying strategy RPG combat I have ever played. And don't worry, my friends, it is an RPG. You'll level up and you'll earn experience. Each character has a sizable skill tree to level up and customize with a ton of different options on that. Each Spark can be fed star bits to level up and strengthen their abilities, and your party can achieve some truly buck wild stuff by the end of the game once you've been completely kitted out. And while I found the game to be fairly manageable just on the normal default difficulty settings, there are definitely some challenging encounters in here where you will need all the help you can get. Speaking of that, I think the team over at Ubisoft should really be commended for the accessibility options in the game. If you feel like you're having too hard of a time with it, you can go and adjust small things like the amount of health you recover after battles, or if you recover health after battles at all, or even just straight up make your party invincible if you want to do that. You're never punished for doing anything like that. The only thing that matters is that you're having fun. If you don't like the little animation sequences that characters go into when they use their special abilities or their techniques, turn them off. Cool. Do you want to fast forward through enemy turns? Yeah, go for it. Great. You can really tailor the experience to your liking in many, many cool ways, and I think that's just wonderful. I do wish there was a way to adjust the HUD elements, which I find kind of distracting and unnecessary in the overworld, especially when the game looks so pretty. I just want to look at more of it, but that's a minor complaint. I also hope they end up giving us a photo mode later down the line, and there is a season pass and a ton of DLC yet to come, so I am excited to see where the game goes from here, and I hope a photo mode is in the works. So my complaints with this game in general are really quite minor, and I've already mentioned most of them. You know, the performance hitches very, very rarely and occasionally. There were a few like side quests that are kind of grindy. I wish I could turn off the HUD elements. I wish there was a photo mode, but these are very minor complaints. And you may have noticed that I haven't mentioned the music yet. The music is a big deal to me. I'm a huge fan of video game music, and I'm a huge fan of the composers that worked on this game. 3 legendary composers have teamed up for the Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope soundtrack. Of course, Grant Kirkhope, who composed the first game, returns, and he does the lion's share of the score here. But he is now joined by Yoko Shimomura, who you might know from like Street Fighter and Kingdom Hearts, of course. Live Alive just came out. She did the score for that. As well as Gareth Coker, who did the score for things like Halo Infinite and the Ori games. And they're great. I wouldn't say that this is career best work for either one of them. But, you know, the soundtrack itself is really good throughout. My problem with it is, and again, even this is kind of a nitpicky complaint, but it feels a little disjointed to me. These feel like they were less a collaborative effort and more of like, let's tap into the individual strengths of these composers. And as a result, for me anyway, it almost feels like they've composed like 3 different soundtracks for 3 different games. When a Yoko Shimomura track is on, I know that a Yoko Shimomura track is on. In battle scenes, when it's playing a Yoko Shimomura battle track, I can close my eyes and imagine that I'm playing a Kingdom Hearts game. You know, Gareth Coker tracks sound like Gareth Coker tracks. I just wish that it sounded a little bit more cohesive throughout and combined the strengths of all 3 of those composers, making something kind of unique and collaborative and I guess amorphous, rather than having, you know, kind of clean cut compositions that they all contributed to the grander whole. It feels like the sum of its parts, not greater than the sum of its parts. But these are minor complaints, ultimately. The long and short of it is, this game has absolutely delivered on just about everything, and not only do I think it's worlds better than the first game, which I already really liked, I think it's one of the best games on the Nintendo Switch this year. It's that good. The unbelievable depth in the combat, how satisfying it is, and how well executed it is, the characters, the accessibility, the charm, and the personality, it all really comes together to make what feels like the ultimate version of the Mario + Rabbids idea. And for me, it has made the first game impossible to go back to. Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope is finally fully realized, a job well done, and if you liked that first game even a little bit, Sparks of Hope is an absolute must-play. And if you do play the game, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. If you got any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Or you can just join the conversation over in Discord. Join our wonderful and welcoming Discord community at Carpool Gaming. The links to that are always in the video description. If you love Nintendo, we've got a weekly Nintendo podcast called the Nintendo Drive, which I am one of the co-hosts of. If you love RPGs, we've got an RPG podcast called the RPG Cave. So you are already in the right place. And if you want more Mario + Rabbids content, more of that is coming as well. So be sure to like and subscribe to us here on YouTube if you haven't already. We would love to have you in the Discord. You can follow us on Twitter at Carpool Gaming. You can follow me personally on Twitter at $2Hero. Again, links to everything are in the video description. And yeah, guys, until next time, play Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Love it. Enjoy it. I'm out. Bye.